Okay, so thanks to Ken and Jeff for organizing the scavenger hunt. We had 3 judges, Kim, who's with us tonight, Mark Searfoss, and myself. The judging was done blinded. We were able to see the screen, but we did not know. The images were scored 1 to 9, similar to when we had our in-house competitions, with an emphasis on creativity. And from there, we had 1 winner for each category. The judges' scores were amazingly close to each other. You will see the total score when we go back and critique. I'm going to show you a slideshow of the images category by category. We'll go through them all. They'll be unidentified, and then we'll show the winners unidentified. Then we'll go back and we'll do the critiques with the names on there. You'll see in the slideshow that there are some images that are small, some very, very small. When they were critiqued by the judges, and you'll see they are normal size, but in the slideshow they're tiny. And wow. I can't fix that part.
Why are they tiny?
Because the files were 30 to 70 kilobytes of data. They were just little thumbnails that were sent by one person. And another, the files were 300 to 800 kilobytes. They were extremely small files as well. So that in Lightroom, in the slideshow, it doesn't handle those well. And there's nothing I could do to change that. But you'll see them full size later. So I'm going to share my screen. You can keep your mics on and feel free to chime in if you want to. Since the judging's already done, you can ooh and ah all you want. Since we know that that's not legal in person. So this is going to be the slideshow. We'll go through one group at a time. Enjoy it. I should have played music.
Mm-hmm. You could sing?
No, I don't think so.
I don't understand. Oh, that's cute.
Are these showing okay?
Yeah. Mhm.
Last set. And the winners something wrong there. Sorry about that. Do that over again. It goes from category 1 to 6. Okay. So congratulations to the 6 winners. And what I thought we would do at this point is go back over. Everyone can come off their mute if they want, or whoever wants to can come off mute. I thought we would go back over the images now. And Mark did not have comments on his critique, did not make comments as critiques. Kim did, and she's on with us, and I did as well. And I thought what we would do is potentially, if there's anything of value, we could make some edits as we see it for the images. And keep in mind that obviously the judging is the opinion of 3 people. You have your vision, and just because we didn't pick your image doesn't mean it wasn't a good image, and somebody else could have picked it. A couple comments I would make to start with would be, when you are doing images, I would urge you to look all the way around the perimeter of your image, the quote border patrol, and make sure you have everything you want in the image, and also things you don't want out of the image, leaving yourself potentially some room for cropping if that's how you do things. I come from shooting slides. There was no cropping, basically. I printed what I shot. Be aware that your monitors and particularly laptops tend to be bright, particularly Apple devices. The default setting is bright. I look at my images after calibrating the monitor. I calibrate before I do anything of consequence in post-processing, which means that the brightness is controlled. It's about 2 stops of brightness less than the default for my Apple laptop, not laptop, but my Apple 27-inch screen. If your laptop or computer is over bright, the images are going to appear dark when they get printed or when somebody else looks at them. And additionally, although you weren't doing it for this was in camera, when you're looking at your images, I would suggest that you go to 1:1, 100%. So it's pixel to pixel. And that would be at this level. If you see my cursor in the Lightroom, 100% as opposed to fit screen. It shrinks a little bit when you go to 100% or 1:1. You're viewing at the individual pixel level, and you'll see details that you may be missing. This is at 200%. This is larger than pixel size. So before you submit anything or send something to be printed, I would suggest that you have to look at it at least at 1:1 or 100%. So at any rate, this is the first image. I have up here the total of the 3 scores. So this is Cheryl's image, and she received a score of 20. I think we can just leave it open. If the maker is here, they can certainly make a comment what they were going after Kim and I make our comments, if Kim has any. Go ahead, I'll let you go first, Kim.
I like the image. It really shows the motion. I don't have much to say.
Okay. I kind of looked at it a little differently. I can't see the motion in this myself. I mean, I know it's a fan with blades because I can't see the blades, except maybe a shadow of blades. And to me, the speed of this image, the shutter speed at 1/10 of a second wasn't the right shutter speed to show. I think the blade being blurred, just like Tom Story does with his airplane propellers, would have shown the motion a little bit more dramatically to me.
Okay.
So that's my opinion. Actually, I did find, I like the perspective shooting up at this angle. I did find this very bright area, which was out of focus, a little distracting to me. Your eye goes to the brightest spot in the image, and I kept coming back here. So just out of, if we were to adjust that and make that area a little bit less bright, I think it would be less distracting to me.
But of course,
And-
we couldn't do any post-processing on these, so.
Yes, true.
Yeah, Vince, that killed me. That just killed me. I couldn't post-process anything. I'm used to
Well-
cropping and adjusting exposure like you're doing here, and it just killed me.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like the little thing dangling down. I felt like it, I mean, I could see the motion because of those other bright circles that are around the center one. And I felt like that was
Yeah.
like a rounding thing there,
Yeah.
that on there. So I kind of like that. I mean, like you said, it's the artist's decision, but.
Yes. And this is Maya's image. She got 18 points for this one. Kim?
This one was tough for me. You know, because it wasn't panning or anything. It was just, I mean, it's kind of cool, but it was kind of tough to judge this one.
From my perspective, I thought that there was a pan because I can see these lines here, but generally speaking,
Right,
when you pan, something is supposed to be relatively sharp
right.
to show the motion, as opposed to this could be intentional camera movement. It could be you had the camera and you just move the camera to simulate motion. I assumed that this was panned, but at the wrong speed to allow something to be stopped. So 1/25th of a second while panning, and there's no data here in this image file to say how it was shot. To me, as well, ideally it wouldn't be pretty much dead center. Here's dead center of the image. They're moving to the left, so maybe if I were cropping this in camera, it would be more toward that way. When I shot slides, or again, you didn't process your image. You basically printed what your color slide gave you, and so it had to be right in camera.
Mhm.
Let me just give this to my wife. Hold on one second.
Maya, did you intentionally move your camera to make the motion?
I think it's a slow shutter speed. I don't think I moved. I'd have to look up.
Because everything looks like it's moving, the background included.
Right, I mean, I was practicing. I've never done slow shutter speed. It was probably handheld. So it's probably a combination thereof, slow shutter speed, and maybe I moved. And I was
Okay.
catching people moving past me. So, I was learning.
Yeah.
but-
What I do like about this Mia, or Maya, how do you
Mia.
pronounce
Mia.
Mia. What I like about this, Mia, is I like that you chose to crop it off right above where her arm is around the other person. Or
That's the actual shot. I mean, I didn't,
I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean that's how you took the picture. I mean, when I mean
yeah,
crop, I mean
Yeah.
you cropped it in camera that way. And I thought that was very interesting. If the background were not,
okay.
and they were moving, and you had that shot, I think it's kind of an interesting shot.
Right. Well, what's strange is that it's 3 people. I mean, it's the husband and wife and a kid on a bike.
Mm.
Oh,
So it's 3 people actually, and I caught them in parallel, which is, but practicing, slow shutter speed, and I didn't want to have my tripod with me because I was walking a long distance, and
So that was actually what I was going to comment on, Mia, is that I like the idea of doing a slow shutter speed, but the background has to be still. So really, if you're shooting the 15th or an 1/8 of a second, in most cases, unless you have a brand new ultra sophisticated motion camera that's going to stop that motion, you're going to need a tripod to be shooting
right.
an 1/8 of a second.
Yeah, I was, it was learning.
Yeah, I thought it was creative. That was the first thing I said in my note here, creative.
Good. Well, one step closer.
This is Bob's 23-point image. That
I
was,
absolutely love this shot.
I thought this was extremely clever.
Yep.
I suspect it was difficult to do because I'm not sure how he did it other than a multiple exposure, but I don't think that would have done it. I personally would have cropped this square,
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
I realize our cameras don't do square, but, or actually, I think they probably could.
Yeah,
yeah, mine can't.
We can set them as squares. Probably I would have done something, at least in post that way, if I didn't do it in camera that way. There was a lot of, not that negative space is always wrong, but there was a lot of negative space there. Bob, could you tell us how you did that?
I put 3 of the pictures into one. That's a reflection, something from the past, and motion all in one. I was trying to do that with all of mine, but I ran out of time. That's a silver dollar spinning. I spun it on a glass table,
Oh, wow.
and then I set my flash, because it was almost in dark, to multiple flashes. So it gives you multiple exposures with one shot.
Out of 0.8 seconds.
Yeah, so you set your flash to pulse.
Yes.
So as it's spinning, it's taking a flash photograph about 8 times. I think it was 8 times. And the reason there's so much negative space, because when you spin a quarter on a glass table, you don't know where it's going to go.
Okay.
There's a lot of spinning dollars that night to get this one.
Is that why you chose F11 for your,
Yeah, because I tried to focus on where I thought it was going to end up spinning, but it was always farther away or too close. So yeah, exactly.
lovely image?
Yep.
This is one of the ones that went really small, and you can see it breaks up at this size. Not exactly sure why it's that broken up. Let me just see something here.
Is Lee on tonight?
No, unfortunately, not unfortunately, he's driving. They just opened up the state of Victoria to allow them to drive to the next state. So they were going to see their son that they hadn't seen for a while.
Nice.
I don't know if that helps you. It's pretty broken up. It's just too small. It's only
What's the resolution on that? Because it's straight out of the camera.
7 KB is the size of it, 72 by 72.
He must have,
He said he didn't, I emailed him this afternoon when he said he wasn't going to be here. I didn't tell him the results. He said, please let me know how I do. And I just said, I said, your files were tiny. And he said he didn't know what size to do them.
I wonder if he switched his camera to shoot JPEG and he shot like small JPEG instead of large JPEG.
Yeah.
Don't know. But from my perspective, actually I have to find my note on this one. To me, it was too static. It wasn't really, there was motion behind it. I couldn't really see much motion with these. There was a little bit of motion here, but no wake or anything. So to me, this was more of a stop action shot, not a great motion shot.
What was the score?
Up here,
13.
I'm sorry, I missed that.
yeah,
it's at the top left corner.
right here,
Oh,
Jen.
got it. Okay.
From a cropping perspective, I think if you were doing it after camera, the pier does nothing to me, and probably maybe
I don't know.
something like that as a pano, leaving a little bit of this in the back maybe. But there's no room up here for a lot of movement. And I don't think the movement should be backwards. I don't think you should have a whole bunch of room here where they left and not enough room here. So to me, that's a problem. So it almost forces to me something more of this amount, trying to equalize front and back. So this was a little hard for me.
Mhm.
This is Ginny's, a score of 17. Kim?
I thought it was very creative, and I like, where, the grass is all in focus and she's running.
I really like that part of it as well. She's like running almost in the sky, and therefore I didn't care for the tree. I thought that pulled me out of it.
Yeah, I went back and forth. I was going to crop it like that. And, but I really kind of wanted it to look like a lot of space behind her, so you knew she had run for a while. I went back and forth because I can crop it in the camera after the shot. You have the option to crop in the Olympus. And I had that crop, and then I said, no, I think I like the long one.
Well, I understand what you were driving at by wanting that. I think, to me, there should be a little bit more space here. I'm not saying she has to be running as if she was flipped and having all this space to run, but she's almost at the end here. I'm not,
I knew that.
but that was your vision.
That's how I wanted it.
Yeah, I understand. Rules are meant to be broken.
Yeah, I actually like the tree because it balanced it.
That's
Kinda.
why.
It, yeah.
That was one of my photography students, and my first vision was I was up on a second floor, like fire escape, looking down, and I had her twirling, and I just, it wasn't doing anything for me. She went and found this bright pink piece of fabric in the loft on the stage with the costumes, because I said, I want you to help me do this picture, and this was one of my 2 photography students. The other one wasn't there that day, so she said, okay, and she went and found that, and then I said, well, why don't you just run across the grass in front of me? So we did a few different run bys, and that was the one I liked because her hair was flying out.
What's the shutter speed?
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is at 1/20th. Mia, this is an example
No,
of
Jenny, yeah, oh,
showing motion with this being in sharp and the movement being blurred. So
Yeah,
I don't know if
120.
you're on a tripod at 1/20th of a second or not.
No, I didn't have a tripod. This is the Olympus with the multi image stabilization,
Yeah.
and I did not have a tripod.
So I have 40 millimeters, which is where the lens was set. You could really get pretty slow if you have a lot of image stabilization. I was curious about the f/22. So that's why this is so sharp, because it's an f/22. If this was maybe 5.6, this would have been there, Jeff, as a balance point, but wouldn't be so sharp that it's taking away from the blur to me.
The problem was it was too sunny out to open up the aperture and still have the slow shutter speed. It would have just blown the whole thing out. So I had to stop it down to f/22.
Or done what? This is a test. You're the teacher.
Well, my ISO was as low as it would go, so I could have used some kind of a filter, but I didn't have
A
it.
neutral density filter.
Well, I don't have a neutral density filter for that camera.
There you go.
So I went with what I had. I had to stop it down to f/22 to be able to get the slowest shutter speed I could get.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is Pat's, a score of 19. To me, I thought this was a nice pan, but the wheels here are almost like the airplane wings. So it shows, like I was referencing earlier, it shows motion. What bothered me a little bit was the intersection here.
Mhm.
I would have preferred this truck not to be there, or at least not be overlapped. I like the fact that it was out of focus. But to me, the overlap is somewhat of a problem. And it was the blur of that was accentuated with the camera movement in the pan, which was timed for this car, I assume. In picking a spot, I would have not picked one with an electric wire going through it.
Well, it's the ramp coming off of Route 100
Mhm.
to 724. Fires are everywhere. Kind of don't have a choice, but post-process, you can take that out. Take out the truck too.
What you had. I did like the way that the one car is really good, how you panned that in the backgrounds in a blur.
Thanks, Ginny.
Yeah, I think that the wheel motion, this is a Tom Story type of wheel motion. Shutter speed was 1/50th of a second. Compared to the fan, I think was a 1/6 of a second. And obviously it depends on the speed of the motion.
So Pat, we'll have to go to the motorcycle races together.
I have some bicycle pictures that look better than that. And yeah, it was a toss-up. I must have had at least 25 shots to put in, but I just picked one. What the heck?
This is Karen's, it got a score of 20. I wasn't exactly sure what the motion was here. I assumed that this was a shot done while zooming.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I moved the camera, not the subject.
By zooming the lens.
Yes,
Yeah, because the ring is in focus here.
I really like that one.
Yeah, it was nicely clever, clever, and it's ICM, intentional camera movement, is that would fall under, I guess. I think the lighting was excellent.
Yeah, I love the lighting. Beautiful.
Is that a dream catcher?
yes. Yes.
Very nice. Good score. Kim?
I liked it, but I didn't think it had a lot of impact. I mean, it's a good picture.
So this is Frank's. This is got a score of 18. Couple comments I would make
Yeah.
from my perspective. This is kind of shooting down as opposed to shooting from a low angle into it. Although the water is moving, I'm not. It doesn't show the kind of movement I think would be noticed if you were down low and would see this progressing this way. And the focus is off to me. The grass at this level is in focus. The water, none of the water to me is in focus. So the focus plane to me was an issue. It's the same, this is in focus here, and it's above the surface of the water.
Mhm.
So there were my comments. This is the triangle group. This is Cheryl. She got a score of 20 on this. Kim?
You could definitely see the triangle, which I liked. I thought it was a little busy, but I overall, I liked it.
I thought it was also pretty busy, too busy. And to me, the focal plane wasn't equal across. This is an F5 5.0 setup. So the focus is going to be, the depth of field is going to be fairly shallow. It looks to me somewhere around here, this part of the stick. And to me, the fact that the triangle is not equally on the same plane or equally sharp is a little distracting. It's a little bright for me as well. This is Mia's. So I thought this was a clever shot. I felt it was too bad that this stick was in the middle of the bird. That to me was pretty distracting. To me, this is the way it was shot as would be a square image. I'm not a birder. We have the expert over there in Ginny, but to me, the negative, all that, those leaves on the side there aren't really of benefit to me for this image. I think the bird is a little dark on my monitor, which would suggest that Mia's maybe the monitor, actually, if it was in camera, then it was, to me, this was underexposed in camera as opposed to an
Okay.
adjustment in post. So if we bump that up a half a stop,
Mm,
about a half a stop in brightness. So that's something that's in camera doable, but to me, this was a real distraction. Although it's
Same,
short,
same for me, yeah. That was a distraction.
right. But the category was triangles, so.
Yeah, and I never would have saw that triangle.
No, my eye went right to the bird.
Well, the bird has some triangles too, like his beak is
Yeah.
His
triangular,
beak.
and he has, and this is an evil English sparrow, so I have a hard time liking this image at all, but
Well,
evil, invasive English sparrow, but they kill other birds and they're horrible. But anyway, he does have like a triangular black thing here under his neck too. So
right?
there's triangles in there, Mia.
I know, that's all I was aiming for, triangles. I just happened to get a good bird shot, almost.
This is Bob.
Very clever, Bob.
I was looking for triangles and I took one out of my pocket to spin. I'm like, oh, I got to keep that one.
To me, this was, it's underexposed. I don't care for the cropping, just, not that everything has to be centered, but we're kind of, the circle to me was the main thing. And it's cut off here. There's extraneous one over there. So if we bump it up to, that's a half a stop. That's possibly what
Yep.
it might look like. I actually forget, are these green?
Yes.
Yeah,
So I don't know what the color temperature was, so it needs to, I think the color must have been off.
Or did you set it to black and white, Bob?
Is that black? No,
No,
really?
it's color.
Oh, okay.
It's a darker green.
Yeah.
But that's what I said. It was killing me not to post-process this stuff.
That's when you go to manual. That's that little button on the camera that says, I'm going to do this myself.
Well, I thought I did, but everything looked different on camera
Yeah.
when I brought it on the screen.
To me, the biggest thing was this cut up here. And, sometimes maybe I'm too stringent on that, but
No, I agree.
this is Lee's, got a 14.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the perspective is way off here. There's triangle, triangle, triangle. That's clever. But it just doesn't fit the scene. To me, it's obstructive to the scene. It's distracting in front of the scene. It's cutting the tree tops off here, not there. It wasn't, the holes weren't ideally placed. I would have probably shot it more this way to put these two guys or three guys through here. So the triangles don't add anything there to the scene. To me, it's more contrived. So another perspective would have been better for me. Kim?
Oh, I totally agree with that. It was somewhat distracting, actually, so.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out how could you crop that differently, and I don't think you could have. I don't know.
I don't think you could crop it differently. I think it's a problem of the perspective of
Yeah.
at a different angle, maybe you would have shot right through the water, right through here.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny got a 22.
clever, very clever.
Yeah, I thought this was really neat. I love the multiple triangles. I thought it would have been cute if someone had bitten a piece of the cheese. I probably would have set it up and bit off a corner or something, but
Oh, there's some corners bitten off the crackers.
yeah, I wasn't sure about that one. So, but I thought it was a really clever setup. I like the way this triangle isn't quite a triangle because you fulfilled it already with the other triangles. The one thing that did surprise me was that the depth of field looks awful deep for an f3.5. And that's probably because it's shot at 14 millimeters. To me, this would have been prettier creatively myself if this was more blurred, less in focus. It looks almost in focus, and to me, it either is in focus perfectly or it's out of focus. It's kind of like one of our critiquers said, if it's almost square, make it square. So to me, that's the background isn't quite in focus. This is in focus. This is a little out, but it's too close to me. Nice detail here at 200% of the salt. It's too close to the rest of it for me, and I'm surprised at 3.5.
Well, you know, I had to adjust because you couldn't crop it afterwards. So it was however close you could get to the items. I had them outside, and you know, that cloth that's underneath, that's like a table runner that's underneath the wooden tray. It wasn't that far away from the bottom of the tray's not very deep, so you just get what you get at that point.
Right.
Now my husband ate the cheese, so.
It was a clever job.
I actually bought those. They're actually chips. I bought them just for this project.
To me, I like the multiple triangles here. I really like the perspective. I like the lines coming in. It's quite underexposed, so it lost points for me because of that. Oh, here's my basic panel closed up on me. So I think
What
it's
was the
probably,
score on that?
There.
it's a stop underexposed.
What was the score?
The score's up there at the 16.
Okay. That was taken on the very cloudy day right before rain, just on Saturday. What can I say?
Right, so you wouldn't want, if it's a cloudy, rainy day, you don't want your sky, the sky still needs to be properly exposed. You don't want it to look like daylight like this. But to me, it's too dark like this. It needs a little bit more punch to it.
Okay.
From exposure point of view. Not talking about the other things that could be done to it.
Perfect thing to find for triangles, though.
Yeah, yeah, and I think the angles were nice.
Yeah, for sure. And I like how you cropped it in camera. I think you cropped it just right.
Yes.
Did do
Nice
a
and
little bit
straight.
in camera.
Say
I'm
that again,
still-
Pat? Yeah, I like, we got some mimicking going on here as far as these lines here to this line and this to this. It was set up really nicely. It's
Thank you.
pretty straight across the top here.
Mhm.
Nice perspective.
Thank you.
This is Karen's. It scored low because none of us could find out how it met triangles, and
Maybe it's rust.
I think it's
I,
right.
I was going for the triangle in the face. If you see the eyes and then it goes down to the nose.
Oh, well, we didn't see that.
And then there's another little triangle there, that filter looking thing that's the nose. That's kind of a triangular shape as well
I see it.
for my triangles.
okay, you win that. We thought actually it was
Russ.
misplaced for rust, but you had something in rust.
Yeah, no, I was going for the face effect, the eyes and the nose.
So the question is how you would, I can see how you did that or were thinking that. So you can't do this in in camera, but supposing if that's what you were after, then drive my eye to it, maybe something like this
Fill the frame.
by brightening, by making some kind of connection. This is exaggerating, but if I were in post and I I want your eyes to come to that triangle. You might, no, I got the middle too much. You might want to think of something along that line and darken this a little bit. Brighten this up a little bit more in the eyeballs. I don't know how I would, if the judge or viewer can't figure it out, then I think that's, that's a problem.
That's a bad sign.
Yeah, that's a bad sign.
Maybe if you would have shot it almost straight on, it's a little bit of an angle.
Yeah, there was a post there.
Well, you should have moved it.
I didn't want to get arrested.
So,
I think if it would have been straight on, we would have seen that a lot better.
Yeah.
but you can bring the eye to where you want it by adjusting the brightness and the darkness of areas to kind of direct the viewer. Obviously that you wouldn't be doing that dark, but you could play with the vignette to bring you down to a triangle view. Just trying to salvage something there. And this is Frank with a score of 16. To me, this was a little too basic of a shot, too much of a grab shot. And exposure to me is a little bit, I realize the meter is looking up here, but to me, this is the triangle sign is a little underexposed. Belongs up about a third or a half of a stop. And it would have been, I think, also better had the car been approaching the yield sign if the setup was more that as opposed to this distracting car. Showing that the car had to yield to the sign. Telling a story.
Mhm.
So this is Cheryl's with a score of 17. This scored low for me because it's somebody else's artwork.
Mhm.
It's a photograph of a tray or something, a picture on grass.
It's like the back of a cell phone cover,
Okay,
maybe.
yeah. So it's somebody else's artwork, so I could not score that high. And the same with this one for Mia. This is got a score of 18, got a little higher than I was thinking, but again, the photograph is of somebody else's work. It would be different if this was light painted as a night shot and shadows placed on it. Maybe it would be more acceptable that way. Most contests these types of images would not be accepted because they're not yours. Now, the Pennsylvania Center for Photography, they had the contest that's just completed recently that was in the newsletter. The second part of that allowed for artistic rendering of other people's work. So that was very specific allowance for that, but generally you wouldn't be doing something like that. Although it is quite colorful.
But, well, I have a question then.
Yes,
So
yes.
the only thing that's handmade is the scarf. If I've owned that and set it up, how would you? I mean, I could take any clothing out of my closet that someone else made. So that's a mannequin.
Yes,
So-
the dominant piece to me in this scene is the mannequin. And
Right, but it's okay, but someone else made,
it's like taking a picture of a straight on picture of a statue.
okay.
You had to have done something to me, from my perspective, to own this image.
Okay, I just wondered, because I mean, there were a lot of shots I didn't take because I knew I didn't own the image, but I didn't see how that was, it's a mannequin.
Yeah, so this would be like, to me, taking a picture of a mural. That's
Okay,
basically what this is.
okay.
Kim, do you have any comments?
No, you Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah.
Others can chime in. I mean, we're having an open mic here. This is Bob's image, scored 17. This is at least a stop dark, if not 2, stopping a half maybe. So this is over 1 stop now. So that really scored it a little bit lower for me.
That's what I told Jeff when I sent them. I said, I never shoot for JPEG. I always shoot RAW for post-process. I wasn't paying attention to the exposure.
So were you on manual or not, Bob?
That would have been aperture priority.
Yeah, so I don't understand, if you're shooting for JPEG, it still should come out as I would have processed it, except it was processed by a little engineer in China or Japan. So I mean, the fact that you were shooting for JPEG would not change the exposure value.
Right.
So that, I don't quite understand that part of it.
What I mean is I underexposed, I push it up a little bit, or I overexposed, depending on the subject.
You mean in post?
Well, I shoot RAW. Yes, I shoot RAW. So I would have pushed the exposure up like you're doing here. Yeah,
Well, if we look at the histogram,
it's underexposed.
it's underexposed. You have all this room here.
Right.
So whether it's a JPEG or a RAW file, it's underexposed. So if it's a RAW file, you're missing data that you could have had to process as a RAW if you expanded it
Right.
like that. And now you expand the histogram to cover the whole field. You get a lot more data in it. So I don't think it's a matter of JPEG versus RAW.
Yeah.
Personally, I mean, look at the detail now on the feathers. But
Yeah.
what's going to happen with a JPEG when I do that is I'm going to start, the image is going to start breaking down.
Right.
But this is looking pretty nice here. So I think that the point is JPEG or RAW, you really want to get as much data as you can. You want to fill that histogram with, unless you're doing something like a high key or something, you're
Right.
really, when you're blowing out the background, you really want to get full use of all the data that's coming to your sensor.
Mhm.
This is Lee's shot, scored to 21.
I like the high key.
Yeah, I thought the depth of field here was really nice. I don't know if he did this as a high key on purpose or against the white wall or not, I don't know, but it comes off as a high key type of effect. I kind of would have liked this as a vertical myself. If I'm taking too long on this, let me know. So, hang
No,
on.
I like
No,
all the.
I take it back. I don't like that. I was thinking
No,
vertical.
rotate it. No.
Yeah, that's what I did. I rotated the aspect
I
ratio,
like the
but
white space.
yeah,
I think the white space gives it room to breathe.
yeah,
I
vertical
like
wrong.
a lot of negative space.
Yeah, to me, this is probably actually a good use of negative space. This is Ginny's image, scored 25. To me, this was one of my favorite of all of them.
Mine too. Yes.
The tones were really wonderful.
Hmm.
I took many shots.
Yeah,
Jenny,
but the focus was the issue.
What's in the background to give you that?
That's a scarf. That's a colorful scarf that I pulled out of my closet, and I just held the wintergreen up above so that it would be, I didn't hold it, I guess it was arranged there. I wanted the scarf to, and the drop, and the ones that fell off to be out of focus, and the ones that were the focus to be in
Yeah,
focus.
I really like that background.
Hmm.
Thanks, appreciate that. I loved this one.
This is Pat's.
Hmm.
I really like that, Pat.
Thank you,
Fantastic.
Jeannie.
It's triangles, right?
I took it, but I was going for the color.
No, definitely color.
What was the score on that? I can't see.
22.
2-2.
Yeah, you did well.
Joanne's has a wonderful supply of colors.
Did you
So-
take that at Joanne's?
Yes.
Oh, good for you.
I strolled in there with my camera. I used to work there, and I'm clicking away. And I went over to one of my former coworkers, and I said, "I'm on a photo scavenger hunt, so if you see me flashing, don't freak out." Oh, that's okay. Go ahead. And so I did.
Yeah, I really like that.
Sylvia is just joining us. I guess that my one question I would have is the focus points here. This is way out of focus, and I'm wondering whether that's a lens issue. This is so much, it seems like it's in the same plane, but this is all completely lost here on the sides. So artistically, myself, I think I probably would have used a more shallow depth of field, trying to blur the colors all together. They're partly out of focus, but some of them are still in focus. So I probably would have focused here and try to get rid of all the focus below it by going as narrow as possible. But Pat, I would look at your lens and just see if this replicates this, shooting something that's flat, and see if this goes out of focus on the sides like that.
Gee, that's strange. I don't know what to tell you. I am forced to shoot on auto because of my vision.
Yeah.
So, wherever I take it. But I was aiming for the center. If you see off to the right there, that's where I was
Right there.
focusing.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a high ISO of 1600.
It's very
she was at-
fuzzy on.
This
Okay,
is Karen's, although it got a 22, I did not score too high because again, this is a picture of someone's art and the lighting is good, but it's kind of straight on. But I low scored it because of someone else's work mainly.
He
Kim?
made me giggle. He just made me giggle. I just
Yeah.
liked all the colors.
Yeah, I think it's quite cute.
I mean, I thought it was really neat on the black background.
I like that too.
Yeah.
He doesn't normally have the glasses on.
I
Right,
figured it's the maker's glasses.
This is Karen.
It's a bank.
Yeah. I figured that. Yeah.
And this is Frank's score of 21. I thought this was nicely framed and I really like the depth of field control. This was nice and sharp. This is nice and shallow. The exposure is good. In post, you would darken this probably,
Hmm.
but it was well exposed, well set up in my mind, except for the tree branch. Since we're getting a little, it's 8:38, I'll talk a little less unless I'm told otherwise. Kim?
No, I would have darkened that a little bit too, but it's cool.
We talking about this picture now? The
Yeah.
rust?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was somewhat
I think
overexposed.
overexposed.
Maybe something like that. About a third or a half a stop. And to me, this is not in focus anywhere. I'm not sure exactly what was supposed to be in focus. I would assume it was the lock, but that's not in focus. To me, right here is the sharpest focus. Border Patrol, I don't know what this was here. It looks like a piece of obstruction, an object. So that's part of Border Patrol. And just as an FYI, this is a sensor dirt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought this was a clever perspective, and I like the framing.
Mhm.
Score for me, it
Me
was
too.
21.
I like that one too.
This is Bob, the score of 22. I like this image a lot, although it's, to me, it lost points because it's underexposed.
You're the one who went to Hopewell Furnace.
Well, I have to admit, I was sure that these were Ginny. There's 2 Hopewell Furnaces shots. I figured, well, obviously they're Ginny's. So
We went over to ride bikes and I took my camera, so.
but I think this is composed nicely. It got a score of
Mhm.
22. This is Lee shot at, this was not scored well. This was a 16. I thought this was the rust, which was our category. There wasn't enough of it, and the picture is just too distracting. What was in focus, what wasn't, and it
I
didn't.
thought it could have been for triangles.
I thought so too.
There wasn't enough rust, and that's why you thought that. And I think the placement needs to be more considered.
Mhm.
Maybe it would have looked better in the sky, looking up at the sky. I don't know. Jenny, this is the score of 22. To me, this was a little confusing, trying to figure out what it was. This looks like a spike. I don't
It's
know.
a railroad spike and a railroad.
Yeah.
Thing.
The clamp of a railroad rail, and tumbleweed or some kind of vine growing on it. For me, it was as not being, thinking it was going to be an abstract. It was too tight for me to conceptualize what I was looking at. I didn't know what the point of the image was. And this
Rough.
fall off in focus threw me off, was distracting to me. Although it scored pretty well at 22. This is Pat. It had a score of 24.
I really like that one.
I really like this one. Yeah.
It's triangles.
And rust.
Yeah.
Right.
Where was that, Pat?
It's actually the center of one of those outdoor stars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, that's pretty cool.
It was at the Axe and Hammer place down on High Street.
Mhm.
I just took my camera for a walk one day. Well, actually, it wasn't one day. It was Friday. I strolled around High Street to see what I could find. And
Is this part flat, or is this like a dome?
it's each, excuse me, each section of the star is bent.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know.
Almost a triangle?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a flat piece of art.
No, no,
Okay.
it's
I
not.
asked that because the focus is, there's a lot that's not in focus, and it looks like the dead center is kind of in focus. I'm seeing a lot of distortion up in around the corner. So if this is the same lens, I would again check that out on something dead flat. And I think if I was doing it, I would probably have put the point in the center.
Mm-mm.
Mhm.
No way.
No.
Yeah, I liked it off center.
Okay.
I think
I
that's
was
what made the photo.
I didn't want it in center because I felt like it would be off to the side, kind of brings the lines to the rust itself. It makes you look.
Mhm.
I would agree with that if the focus was different. I think having all this out here out of focus is where my problem is.
So you think I have a problem with my lens?
Well, I'm wondering about the periphery of the lens, yeah.
Okay,
This is Karen.
That was clever.
Mhm.
Yes, I really like that one.
thank you.
Karen, did you use a flash?
Yes,
Is that the bottom of a tractor seat?
Yeah.
Mhm.
yes, yes.
Really a neat perspective. I really like that.
Thanks.
Makes you want to look through the hose and see what's beyond there.
I love the fact that this is so out of focus and soft green. I would have preferred this hole not to be cut, these two.
Mhm.
I would have gone up higher on this myself.
Yeah,
And if there was a way to angle it so you had the same green here. This is Frank's score 21. This was a little bit too straight of a shot for me.
Mhm.
Maybe a touch overexposed, I don't know.
Mhm.
I like the out of focus background.
Yes,
Right.
And
Yeah.
the thought of an angel being rusty, I thought was kind of an interesting juxtaposition.
and the out of focus background is there because he shot that at 2.8, which is a perfect f-stop for this.
I like that the background shapes that you do see mimic the wings almost, it has that same
Yeah, good point.
texture,
Yeah,
you know.
reflections, Cheryl at 13. I didn't get the orientation, the purpose of that
No.
orientation. It was distracting to me and confusing. The whole picture was kind of confusing to me.
I thought the same. It was, I couldn't figure out exactly what that was. Shooting through a window, car window, I don't know.
This is Mia's score of 16 for me. Getting down a little lower would have put the full face in the glass. That was the point, the reflection, and the head's cut off here.
Hmm.
So a little lower angle would have helped that to me.
Mia, did you know those people?
No,
Oh, okay.
they were just sitting there eating, but I happened to look up when I went to take a picture and saw the reflection. So
Yeah,
that
her-
was,
If her whole face would have filled the whole frame,
Yeah.
I would like that.
well, if we just cropped the guy out, would that be confusing though?
No,
Well, that would be part of the mystery.
Right.
Right?
even closer.
I mean, if you zoom in on her face, you do see the kid's face in the one glass. You can see it.
Yeah, but it's not enough in my mind, personally.
Yeah, I would have had to be closer probably.
See, she's cut off there, or he, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Bob.
Because that's the subject. So if you
Yeah.
would have zoomed or got really, really close, yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
This is Bob, score is
Well-
17. So to me, I thought that one was, I don't like this being cut off here. If you're
Right.
going to cut it off, I would really truncate it more dramatically and make it purposeful and not, oops. But the main thing to me was I'm not sure that that these were lined up as well as they could have been in the glass. Perhaps if you were standing more to the right, you would have been able to separate these and use some white in here. So I'm not sure you fully took advantage of the reflection. This is Lee.
Mhm.
To me, I have to say, what was the focus point? Was it the reflection, which is out of focus? Was it this blown out building roof? These are out of focus. It's all kind of distracting. I think you need to pick something and get it sharp, and perhaps the focus point, which I would usually do, would be to focus on the water. And if there's any movement, you need a high shutter speed. The metadata doesn't show here, so I don't know what the shutter speed was here, but because the water is not, the reflection to me isn't sharp enough and the exposure is not on target. Very clever shot, very
Very.
creative shot, great setup, great perspective, great framing. This is Ginny's at 25.
I love that.
This is a wonderful shot.
Thank you. That was on a mirror,
Yeah, okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
and the sky was completely clouded over. Now, the clouds broke, and I took a bunch of pictures after this that showed the clouds and some blue sky, but I went back to the one that was just white.
Mhm.
It's
This is the
quite
one I
well.
like best. Thank you.
This is Pat, scored a 20. I found this enjoyable.
Mhm.
The reflection is not in focus. It's doubled there. So the focus point is an issue. This is, the best focus here is right there.
I'll be darned.
So to
I
me,
love
the
that.
glass, the glass and or the reflection need to be the
What's-
sharp point.
What's the shutter
Okay.
speed on that?
It's a 100th of a second at f5.7.
Okay.
So don't take pictures of hanging bulbs in the wind.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
Well, you can do that, but you need a thousandth of a second probably.
Because I thought it was handshake, but yeah, it was windy. Okay.
I also like, you got some complementary colors there. You've got
I
some
like
of the
that.
warm
Mhm.
and then the blue. I think that's a really nice combination.
I think this part of it is really cool. Not that I would necessarily suggest this, but there's, that may be an image right there.
Mhm.
It was like 4:30, the sun was going down.
Yeah.
And the weirdos were coming out on High Street. I figured I better run. Click and run, man.
This is carrying, it's a 12. To me, the exposure wasn't right. And it was a little distracting to be cutting off the butt, but the main point of the image was the reflection, and it's partly cut off by the shadow. So this, to me, could have been set up a little bit differently.
Mhm.
This is Frank's, it got an 18.
I thought that was really clever.
Yes, well done, a great depth of field. The only thing that kept coming back to me, and I looked at these images repetitively, I went through them a bunch of times, was this happens to be a Instagram type of shot. It seems like everyone is doing on Instagram. I suspect that Frank doesn't do Instagram. I don't know if he does or not. Don't be insulted, Frank. But I thought you put this handicap sign in there for you and I.
Yeah.
So the last category from the past, this was Cheryl's a 16. To me, this was a little bit too basic. I would have liked to have seen more than just the phone. Edge Patrol. This is me as 21. And I think it's fine to cut things off. But to me, the part of the neatest part of this suitcase is right here. The
Mhm.
trauma, and it's cut off here. So I would have been paying a little bit more attention to this part of it. And I don't think you have to do everything really tightly, but to me, this was the impact area.
It was a display in a window, so I was shooting through a window.
See the window reflection. I like
Yeah.
that you picked that suitcase. So that's a really neat thing. But so you couldn't have gotten that bottom corner, you think?
No, it was very hard because it was a display in the window in the angle that it was sitting at. But I mean, I could have gone in and asked them if I could shoot it, but
There you go.
I like to find things you know, that are there. That's the whole point of scavenger hunting.
Or if you were aiming higher and were shooting down, Mia, maybe you would have gotten,
Yeah. But I like the idea also, it's Niagara Falls, something in the past that people did, but it says Niagara Falls, Canada, which was really unusual, so.
yeah. And again, I thought this was Jenny's, but this is Bob who got an 18.
Oh, Bob's the one who went. I did all mine at home.
Do you wear a dress, Bob?
Mm. Not in public, no, sorry.
Not in
Oh,
the public.
I thought this was creative and well framed, and I thought the depth of field was perfect. It wasn't a totally blurred out background.
Oh,
I don't have an f-stop on the data sheet here. But this is sharp here, and then it slowly trails off, maybe around a f8, I don't know. A little bit bright for me. Score was 18. This was Lee Reeves, score of 13. It's way too dark, and I wasn't sure what I was looking at. I think I know what it is,
old farm equipment.
or a sign
Uh,
that's falling over. I don't know. So to me, this was cropped too tightly to determine what it is, and it's way underexposed. Not much of an image to me. He's my friend, and I can say that since he's not on. Although he's going to watch the recording. This is Jenny's 23. This was among my favorite. I love everything about this. I love the cutoff of the camera, the angle, the toning. Did you put your camera on a sepia mode or something similar, or watch any?
Thanks for that. This was my favorite picture I took for this scavenger hunt. Yeah, the Olympus, you can, after the fact, you can go in and modify your JPEG. So I did it a sepia. Yeah, you can do that in camera.
And that's perfect for an antique photo.
yeah, I
Those
love
are
it.
Photo of
those
antique.
are pictures. That picture on the right, that's my grandparents and my mother. And the one up on the top left, I think that's my, based on what was written on the back, one of those is my grandmother as a child.
Wow.
It said 3 little engines or something like that. And then the one at the bottom, I think that's my grandmother and my aunt that I didn't really know. And that's just an old camera that used to be my dad's, I think.
So the most important part of this image for my wife would have been the doily. Given the age, my guess is that was hand done, like my
I
grandmother
don't know.
did.
That was, I pulled that out of the drawer. I was just gathering together things from the past. So
Looks
That's
like
perfect.
tatting.
yeah,
This-
it does look like tatting. I don't know if it is or not.
This image is by Pat. It was a 15. I wasn't really sure what was going on here. It's the image is distorted. It looks to me like it was a photograph of a photograph, or extremely high ISO.
Oh, whoa, whoa, I need to defend this shot.
Go ahead. A lot of grain here. I mean, that may be the effect you want to look like film.
Pottstown's Wiener Shop.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the interior. I used my camera to take the shot, and in camera, I did it to the grainy black and white, and I also used the what do you call that? Where it
Fish-
curved
Like a
Jimmy,
fisheye.
fisheye, yes.
Fisheye.
Because there you have the old lamps, you know, the lights, you have the old pictures on the wall, you have the old jukebox thing where you know, pick a number and blah, blah, blah. The old, I mean, it's antique as heck in there. And this just took me back to my childhood days of when we used to go in on a Saturday and get a freaking hot dog.
Mhm.
So this was intentionally done in camera to give you that old fashioned look. Period.
Which I think is cool, but the distortion is what threw me.
Yeah. I couldn't
Seriously.
get-
It's out of
couldn't get
focus.
beyond the
Yeah.
distortion. There's a
I
lot of
kind of, I
Martha
thought it
Stewart
would
going
like
on
take
here.
you back in time kind of thing, like time warp, doo 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 doo.
I like that idea. Okay, I get it now.
Okay, but I just wanted to explain that shot.
Thank you. This is Karen's, a 13 score. The category here was from the past, and I couldn't figure out what was related to the past.
It's an old piece of glass.
Mhm.
The bowl
Yeah,
is,
the blue bowl.
it's an old bowl.
It's an old way of lighting your room.
There you go.
It's an antique.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And the glass needs to be emphasized more.
Yeah, the emphasis, that's a good point. The emphasis, I mean, I'm looking at the candle and I couldn't quite figure out what the point was for the category.
I
And
think the
last-
glass is transparent because, I mean, translucent because you can see the light shining through it onto the table. But then when you look at it, it doesn't look like it's translucent.
I had a flashlight up above it, so that's the only light that was in the room besides the candle. So the light was shining.
Flashlight was shooting through the glass.
Through the glass, but the glass looks opaque when you look at it from the side.
Yeah, it isn't. You can see through
That was clever, Karen.
I liked it, Karen.
it. Thanks.
I just,
Was a nice shot. It doesn't
yeah,
fit the,
I couldn't quite get the category, so.
Seems to be a recurring problem of mine, not being able to have the categories.
it's hard sometimes.
And this is Frank, score 24.
Really nice, Frank.
Definitely the past.
No, he used to drive this to work every day.
Yeah, I did.
Well, it looks like it was well used. That's the nice, neat thing about it. Someone's work truck.
Looks like my husband's truck.
So that was it, except we'll just real fast run through the winners so we're all clear who won. We already critiqued these. This is Bob, Jenny, Karen, Jenny. Nice work, Jenny.
Oh, gosh.
Frank.
And she didn't leave the house.
Oh, the first one was taken at school and everything else I took right here on my own property.
That's staying COVID safe. Congratulations.
Well, my husband was home and I felt like hanging out, and so.
All I
He
could
helped-
find at home, Jenny, was rust. That's all I could find.
I made my things happen here.
Well,
That was-
congratulations to
thought it
all
was-
winners.
A lot of fun. I just thought this was a blast. I really enjoyed it.
Good.
Good.
Well, Jeff and Ken set it up, so thanks for that.
Thank you so much, you guys.
All right. Welcome.
Appreciate your work.
Go enjoy.
Y'all have a blessed Thanksgiving.
Yes,
You
everybody,
too.
good to see you. I don't know if any of you guys did watch. I know Vince said he watched a lot of the Optic All-Stars thing from B&H. I think that you'll probably, that it's been on YouTube, so.
It will be up tomorrow morning on their website the entire 2 days. And I watched 90% of it.
Yeah, there were some really good speakers, and like if you weren't here before, we mentioned there were 2 critiques. One was wildlife and one was landscape. And I don't know about the landscape one, but if it was as good as the wildlife one, it's definitely worth watching. It was really
It
cool.
was wonderful critiques. And he did Lightroom. He had his assistant play with Lightroom and adjustments and things like that. If you're going to go back, I would strongly suggest that everyone, and I'll probably put this in the newsletter, look at the session by Sam Abel, A-B-E.
Oh, he was really good.
I've been following him for years. My wife and I drove to Maine, Portland, Maine, a couple summers ago so I could hear him speak. He's impossible to get into. He sells out when everything, his announcements come out, he's sold out by the insiders. So we did a trip up to Maine to hear an hour and a half talk of his. And I've watched his talks. He's just amazing. And if you were to Google the 2017 optic by him, put in B&H Optic All-Stars, Sam Abel from 2017, and he has the talk on the life of a photograph. And it's about a little over an hour. Anything you can find of his, you should watch. It's staggering.
And Lisa Langell, who did a talk for us, she did a really interesting one too.
Sure did. And did you hear her say that, or David, the guy who was running, and say she had cancer?
Yeah,
She did. She's still going through therapy, she said.
Hmm.
She's so busy.
yeah, she
Yeah,
was good.
So, I guess that would be all. Anybody else have anything else?
Thank you to the judges. Thanks, Kim,
Well,
and
thanks for all the time.
Thanks, judges. Yeah.
Vince, I have a question for you too.
Yep, go ahead.
It's about the the schedule. So you
Oh,
post-
the
yeah,
rest
so
of us can leave.
All right, good night, folks.
since I have him here,
All
Hi,
right.
guys.
see you
Have a
guys.
good
Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Have
Happy
Thanksgiving.
See in your face, Barbara.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
So what's up, Bob?
Which of those Excel spreadsheets are we supposed to use? The one that's on Google or?
The one that I sent, that's, not
Because
on-
I posted my stuff on the Google Doc.
and I have it transposed onto the Excel that comes with my
So you did
email.
it, okay.
And I sent an email today, say, please use this one,
Okay,
because
Okay.
people have potential trouble getting onto the Google Drive. You have to ask permission sometimes.
okay, but you got mine.
Yes, and
I'm
it's on,
probably,
it's on,
I'm probably already gonna ask you to reschedule one.
well,
So
just,
I'll email you.
it was sent back to everybody, say,
Okay.
use this one. So just adjust it and send it back out again.
Okay, all right. Okay,
Yeah, thank you, guys. It seems like you've had a pretty good meeting turnout participation so far.
For
I
the
mean, that was my feel from what I've seen in
Yes.
emails, Vince.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's what we need.
Yeah.
were those subjects what you're looking for, Vince?
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, good.
Very nice, actually.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll send it back to you with an adjustment then.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
Yep.
See ya.
I'll take care. Hey, Vince, is this newsletter week
Yeah.
again? Wow. Weeks just fly by. I thought after I said that about doing that and I get something for the newsletter, I thought, oh, shoot, I think that's in 2 days.
Indeed.
But that's okay. All I really have to do is copy last year's and stick it back in. But I thought, I'll do that again. And then maybe we'll have more at the end of year meeting because they'll have their images.
Say that again.
I said, maybe we'll have more people come to the end of year meeting because I'll put the slideshow together and everybody that sends the images would be in it. So
Oh,
maybe
right,
they'll
right, right.
participate. I don't know.
Well, it's pretty tough to get anybody to participate. You saw I sent out 2 emails
Yeah.
to judge the end of the year photographs, and I got 3 people with the first mailing.
Yeah, it is. It is hard. And I know I'm one that didn't respond. And I just know, like when I,
None of the
Bounce.
board members responded, I think.
what's that?
I said, I believe none of the board members responded.
Yeah. I mean, it's rough. I'd say this is how much time I'm going to devote to the club each week. And this week it was for the competition or for this. You know, and
Well-
getting everything ready and then
And I said, this took me probably 6 hours.
yeah.
Putting it, maybe not 6, maybe, well, it had to take me 5 to put together
Yeah.
all the flow sheets, get the scoring going, put them into categories in Lightroom, and
Yeah,
prepping
you
and
want to
all
stop
that
the recording.
stop the recording. Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Just realized that was going.